common area of complaint or presentation of difficulties in the area of the lumbar-pelvic region, and so stiffness and pain, and they obviously show up together a lot. And so the origins of that can be trauma, can be postpartum pelvic instability, and there's lots and lots of information about that these days, about approaches to being helpful with that. And then also we have disc bulges, back surgeries, disc surgeries, and so on. And so that lumbar pelvic area, along with the neck and probably the shoulders, are recurring presentations in my practice. So I spend more time here even than I used to. I used to really think about the material here, the fascia, the model that we had of working with that was really a lot about the fascia and not so much putting the nervous system in the foreground. But now, as I'm working really, I suppose, neurofascially, I find myself spending a lot of time here. So I'm going to show something, so kind of building really on what I started on the other side. So I just want to balance my model out by working a little bit on the other hip and on the other leg. So this work that I'm doing now would be for any lumbar-pelvic pain. So we don't, at this point, need a strong sort of differential diagnosis about kind of what's up. We're working, so it could be any one of those causes that I talked about earlier, and even something more sort of, if you like, uncomplicated as a tight iliotibial band. So this, the famous tight band here, the whole world's been trying to figure out ways to roll it out and stretch it out and so on. So if we attend to the tone of the muscles around the hip, we'll take a lot of load off this whole lateral line of the leg. And so here's some ways to go about that. So this time I'm just going to work with two hands at the same time. So that's going to give even more stimulation up into the supraspinal centers. This right hand, so the proximal hand is right against the crest of the ilium and has a little bit of tension and pressure, so I'm pulling back towards myself, and I'm loading up the pelvis. I'm loading up the pelvis with my hand, but I'm loading up the femur just below the trochanter, so just a little bit distal from the trochanter with this other arm. So you can see now I've got, there's a lot of stimulation associated with that. Again, not trying to sort of pin my model down. So it's firm. It's meant to be sort of kind of going inside the body in a way in terms of sensation. So I'm working on the periosteal layer, but the whole thing should feel pleasant. So going back again to that slow movement, and so here the whole thing again could just be, the pre-movement would just be the reminder of weight in the body. And then followed by a sense of receiving the weight of my hand and my elbow there. So you might find that you can just allow that in just another millimeter or so. It's like, I can just letting go beautifully, and then once you've got that letting go, it's like, I can let go a little bit more with that. Great. So this time the movement's going to be quite simple. The leg for now can just stay as it is, but you're just going to draw your tailbone back towards me a little bit. So you can, like that. Good. 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 And then you can go the other way. So in anatomical speak, we've got posterior tilt happening right now. So that's the tailbone going forward. Good. And then just letting the whole thing really sort of drift back. It's almost like you're moving underwater. That's sort of the way seaweed moves with the eddies in the water. not so much of one way to think about it is trying and create some sense of fluid motion, and certainly nothing that would be too jerky or jackrabbit, I guess you could say. And that's just what I've got here with my model. Yeah, the movement's got this really kind of curious, mindful movement, feeling each moment of the arc of motion rather than just trying to get to the end point. Good. Okay. All right, so let's keep going with that. And so this hand here, still doing what it's was doing initially. So it's still up against the crest there of the ilium. So the contact is really literally on the bone there. And this other hand, I'm going to sort of switch it up here a little bit. This other hand's going, just get on the side of the ribs here. So I'm just lifting the myofascia away from the other hand, putting what we call a line of tension in the tissue, and then I'm just lingering there. So I'm going to hang around, let those signals really kind of amplify over time, going up towards the higher centers in the brain. And then here's the movement on this side. So we've got the left arm, and you can start to just slide that arm out towards those windows there. So heading out towards the pool. Good. And turning your arm up, elbow up towards the ceiling. Good. Good. And then that's great, just there. Then just be curious about your fingers so they can open. It's not so stretchy as just like, ooh, like a flower. The little folds in your hand open. Feel length right through the side of your body. Yeah, the hands are all very soft, kind of like you're reaching for a baby rather than trying to grab an object, a hard object. Yeah, like that. Good. Yeah, so you're curious about the sensation in your fingers. Temperature, what it feels like just to have that light stretch across the palm. So it's not end stretch, it's just like, it's like opening. Good. Good. Good, and then just let your arm flop where it is, if you're comfortable there. That's good. And even there you can keep letting the weight of my hand, like that. Like that. That's good. Good, good, good. Okay. So perhaps some of that was visible, that dropping away or the relaxation there. But what we could do is just go back to the test at the feet and just see if that's changed the transmission of the force up through the body. So I'll get you to lie on your back again. Yeah, so there we can sort of play the head from the foot on this side now. So we've got both sides having the same kind of transmission of the force that I'm putting through the foot, and that suggests that the resting tone in the body has changed. So if you remember right back to last week, it's not that far back, but embedded in that material there was mention of the fact that in some books you'll find, how do we know if someone has gamma gain? And the test is as simple as you pick their arm up, and if they can't let go of it at all, like their arm just stays stiff and you move it around and it's completely under their control the whole time, then according to some authors, that suggests strongly that there is a state of gamma gain in the body. The body just can't relax any more than that. This person's not like that. So that's quite pliant and fluid. But even within all of that, you can see some obvious changes, I think, in terms of the way that the leg moves right through the body. Which brings me to this thought around this notion of relaxation, because in some ways it's a large part of what every manual therapy is trying to do. We certainly have biomechanical intention in some kinds of therapies, but if we look at really the depth of the meaning of relaxation, which I think encompasses reductions in gamma gain and also changes in the autonomic nervous system, really neither of those we can sort of just talk people out of being tight. And we've probably almost all experienced the kind of, I don't know if it's completely futile, but it's of quite limited value if you just say to somebody, oh, just relax. Because we'd all like to be able to do that, but it turns out that for the most part, there's a whole subterranean level of tension that we can't let go of. And quite often when we go, oh, relax, and as soon as we stop thinking about it, we're back in our pattern of tension. So when we ask someone to relax, we're really asking them to, we're trying to consciously override those aspects of the invisible nervous system that are setting the tone. We can be sort of only partly successful with that at best. As soon as we take the intention away, the background or that unconscious nervous system, the gamma motor nervous system, it will just keep